Like, as soon as the supports rotate over, then I think the correct move by AUI here is just, instead of even going to the mid lane or anything like that, here's what I hope will happen, okay?
Battle.
I hope that the Skywrath simply just goes to the top lane and just harasses the Luna, because eventually the Rubik and the Winter Wyvern are going to leave. So if you just go and gank YJ,
right,
who I've only seen play like Razor this entire tournament, if you think about it, right? Then it's such a weak hero early game. Like, you have to abuse it really early on.
All right, well, welcome into the mainstream. Evil Geniuses versus EHOME, game number 2. Blitz and I were talking about it, and we really feel like EHOME, they could just clean up their game a little bit. We could have a very epic game on our hands here. But that's kind of what we've been saying the whole entire time, right? Is that EHOME seem to look near flawless in some of their early game, where they have this plan, they're executing it very well, and then they just seem to make very simplistic mistakes.
Yeah, two things. I don't want to take anything away from EG last game. Like, they played that game absolutely phenomenally.
Yeah.
Like, the way that they recovered, they did that so well.
The bait out from the Universe Sumail bait out was next level.
But the reason why it sounded like we were EHOME biased or trying to keep EHOME in the game is not that I'm biased towards EHOME, but it's more that in all of EHOME's games that we've casted, they come so close to winning. Like, they play really well, and then something just seems to slip. It almost feels like they're a top-tier team for the first 15 minutes, and then something in them just mentally breaks. And it's just disappointing to see. Like,
and also you can tell in a lot of games that EHOME are facing up against, they are struggling to keep up or stay ahead, right? Like, the natural resting phase a lot of the times results in teams just being able to slowly but surely get ahead of EHOME via out-farming them.
Yeah, so EG, absolutely dominant. I think in general, the way that we focus our cast for people that are just tuning in is we still want to make the game closer, at least be able to praise both teams equally, if not try to highlight some of the things that the losing team is doing well, despite their loss. But Sumail versus CTY mid, I'm really excited to see this just because I don't know how Sumail's possibly going to win this lane. Like, in my opinion, this just isn't a winnable lane. I'm really surprised that EHOME was willing to give Sumail Storm, because that's the third time I think I've seen EHOME lose to Storm. It seems like it's a hero they struggle with, but they must feel really supremely confident in CTY's ability to mid.
I mean, it is a quite one-sided matchup, right? I mean, most of the intelligence mids that face up against Leshrac are naturally going to lose, but this is Storm Spirit. He has no escape mechanism, so Leshrac is just going to be able to spam out a lot of lightning bolts, and they will always bounce to Sumail because whenever you're up against Leshrac, it's all about the mid vision, right? Especially during the nighttime phase, CTY is just going to be able to spam out lightning over and over again. It just like will constantly bounce to Sumail because he's got vision over the cliff, even during nighttime.
Yeah, and he actually just narrowly misses that stun, and if it had connected, CTY probably would have walked away with the first blood. But part of the problem too with Storm, I guess, is just the low amount of move speed that you have makes the Lightning Storm even more powerful. But that's my always 1 minute analysis of Storm in the very beginning of games where he's picked. And focusing on the other lanes, Universe at top, I think PPD actually went over there and helped him. And if you look in this mid lane too.
So here's what he did. If you look at the tier 2 tower area, Tuskar can actually sit here and be able to throw ice shards.
Look at PPD. He's actually just dragging the creeps. I've seen this done before, but I think this might be my first seeing it in a pro game. And PPD popping out the jungle, and he's actually making this lane winnable now for Sumail, as he took away a full lane of creeps from CTY.
Yeah, he's basically next leveling the support toss. He gave Universe a pretty decent lane. Unfortunately, he's going to die now, though. That's going to be our first blood. Goes to DDC. Grab his boots up. So it looks like Universe just a bit too far forward. But he set up the lane for the creep equilibrium to push forward very early on, and now he's actually helping to win the middle lane. So this is probably why EG felt maybe a bit confident about the Storm Spirit versus Leshrac matchup, because they have this sort of ace in the hole.
Yeah, this is really Leshrac. And if you can actually get any sort of stacks up for Sumail, it would help a lot. But kudos to PPD for being able to actually pull it off. And in this mid lane, Lanem looks like they want to push the lane in, but PPD is just waiting. I think he actually senses that something's going to happen. And he's going to run into the Rubik right here, but this shouldn't mean a kill or anything like that. It does mean that
PPD may just block him out here. Yeah. He'll get some more right clicks. Lanem just buys himself time with the telekinesis. There is still the snowball. Maybe PPD can actually pick up the skill, especially when he gets in front of Lanem for another extra right click. A snowball? No, he decides against it. CTY is there, ready to go with the splitter, and that would just be a bit too dangerous.
Yeah, and this top lane, Universe still has to be careful because Winter Wyvern, the Arctic Burn, deals so well with most offlaners, and the amount of damage that your Luna can pump out with just the Lunar Blessing by being alive is quite a lot. So he does have to be fearful of this, as he even pops the Spike Carapace to try to avoid some of the damage. But 2 of those hits alone, taking out nearly 1/5 of his HP, and ROTK meanwhile at bottom is doing a pretty good job at bottom.
Yeah, he's had to deal with a Skywrath Mage spam, but it seems he's run enough reach in to be able to position himself very forward in lane, and because of the fact that Tusk is doing this, you know, kind of really interesting pull scenario, you can see it right now, exactly how it works. Looks like it does kind of bug out. Looks like the Centaur was still trying to come forward, but the Ice Shard's just ward on the perfect position. Either way, because they don't have an actual stun here in the bottom lane, the Darkseer just has to bring regen to deal with the Skywrath Mage's damage, and then there's not much killing, just harassment.
Yeah, Universe is being zoned out really heavily in this top lane right now. TDC and YJ are just doing such a good job of forcing him out of this lane and making him uncomfortable, but they are going to push out the lane. This is what happens. The Luna just has such high base damage that CSing for her is so easily done, and it's just going to kill the creeps a little bit faster than you would like, and Universe is going to grab his level 3. Meanwhile at bottom, ROTK just continues to get levels. He almost has a soul ring, and once he does that, I don't actually think he has to be in this bottom lane anymore. He can probably just go to the jungle camp. Because yes, you can disrupt some of the Gyrocopter's farm, but it probably isn't worth it at the risk of your own farm. They might even go on him at bottom as he is out of mana, but he's going to start the surge early, but he might have just trapped himself. His Fear's got phase boots, and he's looking for the angle, but just backs off.
With a little bit of pressure, I guess, assuming that RTK was going to be able to get away. They also could have bought like maybe a TP scroll from the side shop and gotten out that way. But they'll just pop a couple more surges, getting on back to base. Back over to our middle lane, CTY's 27, 28-4 now, compared to the 23-3. Considering this is a matchup that's favored to the Leshrac, this is a very even CS.
Oh, it's beyond favorite to the Leshrac. So the fact that Sumail is somewhat close to this is going to be pretty impressive, and I'm just really waiting to see how this goes, because EHOME, if they lose another game to Storm Spirit, I would have to imagine the rest of the tournament, they're just going to live in fear of it. So this is a pretty big game, not only for EHOME to keep their hopes alive, but just so it's like a confidence booster, right? Like, we can deal with this hero. We don't just have to first or second ban.
Yeah, limits your drafting capabilities if you have to always ban out a Storm Spirit.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Second banning phase.
Yeah, so Fear just continues to free farm just behind the Luna, but he has an Enchanted Mango. I like that, right? It's pretty neat. It's like a nice way of having HP regen at the same time.
That extra bit of mana necessary, especially since he's versus some of these heroes that do have a lot of pressure that they're able to put forward. There's probably going to be some early team fights that happen, and you never know. That Mango could actually come be the sort of savior, an extra rocket barrage to win the fight.
I'm a little concerned right now for EG though, because EHOME's supports are just doing a good job of getting ahead and keeping up in levels, and PPD is only level 2, AUI is kind of suffering equally, and they haven't been able to make anything happen, but EG's lineup...
I think PPD really suffered from missing his Ice Shard spells.
Yeah, you have to be really precise with that, I think. Universe is rotating down to this bottom lane, and maybe they just switch completely and send PPD to the offlane. I've seen them do this before.
Why is that?
I think it's just because maybe EHOME feels it's not worth it necessarily to dive the Tusk, and in this way Universe can just switch with Fear, who can even go to the jungle or rotate to the top lane itself to pressure the...
It just seems Nyx Assassin is, I mean, compared to certain heroes like Tusk and Clockwork, is maybe a bit more farm dependent than those heroes. I mean, he obviously picks up his level 6, and that's what gives him his ganking mechanism, but Courier... EHOME, do they want it? Do they not want it?
No, they can't do it anymore.
No,
they waited too long.
They hesitated way too long. That's going to be a smoke spoil. They do get to see some of these stacks, though, and they can actually farm it up. I mean, they've got the lightning ready to go. They also have Winter Wyvern and Splinter Blast, so they're going to go for it. Meanwhile, top lane, we do have a 3-man smoke. We'll see how that goes as EHOME clear through stacks.
This is what I was talking
Radiant's
about
top tower
in the very
is
beginning
under
of the game.
attack.
I don't know if they switched to us in time, but Luna's such a weak hero that you can just rotate it and kill it. You just haven't enough time to pop anything.
Nope. Immediately taken out by the snowball and silenced up as well, unable to get off that ultimate. It's funny thing is like YJ was backing up at the right time too, so they actually are just making a full-on lane switch. That's what they're doing. So they're putting Universe now at the bottom lane, and with that,
Radiant's
obviously smoke up, they transfer their
attack.
tri-lane to the top lane to put pressure on Luna. Universe, smart TP out it seems.
That failed smoke by EHOME just had so many ripple repercussions for
Dyer's
because if they had to maybe where they kill the Luna and it slows down EG even more, and they're able to get some control on the map. They force somebody down to help out
Dyer's
here.
top tower
But
is under
it was
attack.
just weird because they had the opportunity to get the curry, and then they decided to go for it after it passed over the tree line. Like they all had to hit it twice, then
Dyer's
to be able to get that.
structures
But
are fortified.
Indecision is a killer.
yeah, they
Radiant
just had to go for it
structures
or
are
not.
fortified.
I think they probably could have killed here if they
Radiant's
hadn't done
bottom
that.
tower
But
is under
it's not going to
attack.
matter. They should be able
Dyer's
to trade
top
towers
tower
here. But
has
still,
fallen.
it's those little things that kind of separate you.
Radiant's bottom
Yeah, it's
tower
why the
has
reason we're
fallen.
really pointing it out is these things specifically is what has oftentimes gotten EHOME behind when they're actually playing usually a very even and crisp, clean game.
Play smart than just one or two execution mistakes.
RTK now has his level 7. Evil Geniuses have been clearing through the enemy jungle though, with the regeneration of Sumail. He's got a decent amount of farm. Looks like he's going to be going for the Orchid first. Makes a lot of sense for Leshrac, obviously.
Yeah, and they're
Radiant's
actually all grouped
bottom
up here at
tower
top.
is under attack.
Fear, he's not really afraid. There's not a whole lot that can burst him down where PPD and AUI can rotate in to help him. They're even going to slow down the push at top by dragging the creeps over. Just going to get AUI as level 5, get PPD some much needed experience.
Are some rotations out from EHOME up to this top lane now, but Fear is already backing himself up. He's going for a rather stat-heavy build, Phase Boots, Ring of Aquila, and the drums all being committed for with the Magic Wand on top.
Alright, so they just smoked S3. Sumail doesn't have the best mana pool to work with, but it shouldn't matter.
They see a lot of heroes already thanks to this ward, which is countered. Still looks like they're going to go for CTY first. DDC does not have the ultimate to counter. He just has the Cold Embrace, so...
They're waiting for him to push up a little bit more, and EG is prepped for this, but it does look like EHOME have an understanding of what's going on, especially when they decided to do that work. Like, Sumail just I want to walk away with DDC at the very least.
Smoke. It's not the hero they really wanted, but it's something they just have to content themselves with. It's better than the EHOME smoke, which missed the courier, I suppose.
You get away with something at that point. The hope is that you kill the Leshrac to further slow down his Bloodstone, but if not, getting a support is better than nothing here. EG, they've taken control of this top lane pretty heavily, but it does leave the rest of the lanes open, and if you notice that YJ realizes that the safest place on the map is the enemy jungle, this is the correct place to do it. Just pressure out the enemy jungle, allow your team to farm in safer places.
What do you think about the Mask of Madness on them?
It's really cool. You can farm the Ancients really quickly. It allows you to just propel your farming really fast, but
much more likely a Helmet Dominator for this game.
yeah, because you need a Satanic against EG's lineup. The EG have a ton of burst, and the only way to survive burst as a late game carry is to have a Satanic to be able to turn it around. I know there are some players that like to go for the Master Madness, but in this game especially, just the HP that you can get out of the Satanic without having to build any stat items is pretty important.
Yeah, and I would also say for like the early to mid game, like Evil Geniuses are really a lot of pressure, and Mask of Madness is more of a farming item than anything else.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think EHOME do want to get in fights. They have the type
Radiant's
of lineup.
middle tower
You've
is
got
under
support, Wyvern. They're not the most self-sufficient, and they're definitely not that useful outside of fighting. You're not going to farm with those heroes and change the game. You're going to get into fights, get good Winter's Curses off, do things of that nature.
Dyer's bottom
try to
tower
get ahead.
is under attack.
It's not even like their ganking is very efficient, right? Winter's Curse is okay, but pull that down is so long that you can't really afford it.
Mech is about to be finished up by ROTK. He's trying to deal with this push at the bottom lane. How's Universe doing in levels? He's got his level 6 plus Arcane Boots, but he's pretty far behind in farm, especially when you compare it to ROTK. It's obviously unfair to compare
Dyer's
these two
structures
offlaners.
are
Winter
fortified.
clearly has an advantage farm-wise.
Dyer's bottom tower is under
They
attack.
actually de-ward that, so I think EG will also know that they have a ward up there because how else would they know? But
Dire's bottom
EHOME's in a
tower
really good
has
position
fallen.
once again. Once they get the mechanism up on ROTK, they'll feel pretty comfortable because Universe is pretty underleveled and he can't afford to miss very many ganks at this point. He's getting really close to his Bloodstone at the same time. Sumail is a little bit further away from his Orchid, so the farm advantage, EHOME can definitely take it.
The Orchid timing on Storm Spirit, like he's naturally a hero that you want to group up against, right? Because Storm Spirit isn't particularly strong in 5 versus 5 team fights early on. He just like naturally just doesn't have enough mana. Plus Orchid is more of a pick-off item than anything else, so you're naturally going to want to group up anyway, and it seems like EHOME's plan is just going to come together at the right time. Mech, you have the decent amount of stats on your Luna, level 6, and some stats on the Leshrac. Even Winter Wyvern's ready to go.
They want to take this top tower after this game. AUI is not even the main target here. It's just like the latest pushing in, and this is a right after.
Good time for it. Quickly being able to burst down both the Scarith Mage as well as the Wave of Creeps. And Evil Geniuses are kind of unlikely to make the rotation. In fact, you could already see Universe starts backing himself away, but EHOME aren't going for the tower. I think we're spot on the money there.
Yeah, it's really common. Because you're seeing PPD at bottom, he doesn't have enough mana. Even if he TPs, he only has a snowball. The Gyrocopter same with the Storm Spirit, especially when the Winter Wyvern is level 6. So the top tower was pretty easily taken. They had a catapult and everything, and they had the momentum. Like, there's no way they anticipated that smoke from EHOME.
I think maybe EHOME are just going to
But in some ways, I like that they still go for the win like that, and I feel like this would have been a similar situation. I think if they were playing any other team but EG, they would have continued to go for that tower. But I think that was just a case of a little bit too much respect, but I don't want to harp on it too much. I did think that was the correct play. Bloodstone is going to be completed on CTY, a Mech is completed on ROTK. The Luna almost has an Ogre Club. You don't want to wait for the full BKB. It would open up a little bit too much space for EG.
Yeah.
So maybe you go for the fight here.
Because that would mean BKB would be finished on the Gyrocopter at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
It's probably more important that the Gyro gets a BKB this game too. Especially since you have a Lush on your team. You can deal with the Gyrocopter at this phase of the game. EG, they're going for the smoke right now, but EHOME is just playing incredibly defensively. Now they're starting to group up, doing the smart thing here. And there's a pretty significant stack for YJ to clean up.
You can see how scared Evil Geniuses are playing right now. Like all the calls that you're making about EHOME, you know, about to do that. It seems like Evil Geniuses have read that too. Like just the example of call down. I mean, that's them wanting to push out the wave, but not even get close to committing. They're playing pretty defensively as well, waiting for that jump from EHOME. The stack is going to be cleared through. YJ will get his Ogre Club, but again, still not close enough. DDC going to be picked out there by the Orchid. Sumail immediately TPing out for fear of recourse from EHOME.
Yeah, and I like that this game he decided to go for the straight Orchid instead of going the Soul Ring like he normally does. I think getting it even a minute or two earlier allows you to get a free kill without EHOME being able to respond. Because once EHOME hits all their timings, then I feel like they just group up, and it's too hard for that Orchid to really pay for itself. And I like that he went for it overall, because against Winter Wyvern, you're going to have so many issues. Once he gets a Glimmer Cape, so by the time you get your Orchid, the effectiveness of it dies out.
And I think that early pickoff, just to build on that early pickoff is kind of stalling up EHOME's timing. And we're getting to a point, especially like EG tried to go for a Smoke Ink earlier with the Nyx Assassin. We didn't really talk about it, but it feels like that's one of those timings where if you do get a pickoff there, you may just manage to stall up EHOME long enough for you to get your BKB before their first like real aggressive offensive action. And even if it's not the first time, maybe the second time, right? Like, for example, here, EHOME, if they want to go for this top tower, Evil Geniuses could just say, okay, we're going to give this tower up, but the next tower you push in, we will have that BKB for Gyro.
CTY is being slowed up, but he himself should be able to tank enough, and EHOME is actually wrapping around, trying to see if they can find anybody, but Sumail's actually doing such a good job of keeping up in farm relative to EHOME. He's got 150 CS, 2 kills from Spirit. He's going to be incredibly satisfied with that. So, EG, not even like they're behind or anything like that. It makes it sound like they are.
He's going to be able to catch AUI, and he actually finally grabbed the illusions, there's going to be a bit of downside. That just means that extra Splinter Blast nuke will kill him all the faster. Lanham will get the heal, and with the 5-man already here from EHOME, they will
Radiant's
try and push down this tier 1 tower.
Denied.
Top tower does get denied
Radiant's
by PPE
middle
at the same
tower
time.
is under attack.
I'm gonna go with this, but
Radiant's
here goes now.
structures are fortified.
Really what it comes down to when it comes to tower defenses is it's not even really a it's that you
Radiant's
have
middle
people set
tower
up
has
there
fallen.
so that only 1 or 2 people max have to TP in, meaning that you don't have to overcommit. Good move by EG to give it up. Even better move by EHOME to take down that tower. YJ's going to finish the stack now, I think. His creep dies, unfortunately, before he can time. BKB is coming up on him. They timed their pushes out really well so that EG couldn't respond, and this BKB will come at a decent time.
Speaking of BKBs, though, we've mentioned it a few times, Fear finally has his, and he's got a big old Ancient stack that he will be able to farm up on top of that, so he can quite quickly start moving towards his next item. Is it just, like, especially since you've invested so heavily into early game stat items, you just go for late game like now, like a straight butterfly or
I think MKB is a really good choice if you don't want to just immediately get the butter and hope, because most of the damage is nukes, and Sumail at top, I mean, he's looking for it right now, and DDC's running away. He does have the mana pool to do this, and this might just mean another pickoff for Sumail. Nobody's even close to DDC, and Sumail's just ruining DDC's life.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't go for the TP out there, but I guess he assumed that Sumail's going to be able to jump him and vortex
the pull
at some point. Yeah. Storm Spirit is BKB his next item, right? Just because he's dealing with Leshrac, too much magic damage. Luna as well.
Bloodstone first, and then...
Okay. I thought maybe he would go for the early BKB simply because there's a chance that he won't go for a lot of 5.
I think BKB might be okay, but I think getting the Bloodstone and the EHOME decides to overcommit for the 5-man allows you to just win the game with having that item. I think that it just does too much for Storm. Like, it allows you to revive faster, it allows you to snowball sooner, it allows you to stay on the map and farm more. The HP aspect of it too is underrated. If you want tank, you get a Bloodstone on Storm. It just solves so many of your issues. It's too good not to get it as a second item. It's like one of those weird cores that you don't want to get a BKB on second.
So EHOME very shyly went for their timing early on with taking some of those towers, but didn't really commit too much. They've taken just the tier 1s. Now they have the BKB for Luna. Is this another timing for them, or should they sit back and continue to farm up?
No, the thing is, EG is doing the same exact thing. They got a Blink Dagger, they've got Fear, who actually pops his, and I think Universe even Envision, but when you hit these types of timings, and you're wondering why do teams do this, like why don't they just continue to farm or anything like that, it's that what are you really waiting for? By just splitting up and farming, you're leaving yourself open to opportunities to get picked off. So when EHOME hits a timing where they get a BKB on their Luna, and he's got 77 gold, what is it that you're waiting for?
Yeah.
Right? Like nothing, you can't just keep delaying these pushes and saying, we'll wait. You're comfortable with this type of timing that you're going to hit, and this might actually work out perfectly as they're going to get the wraparound smoke.
BPD, the first telekinesis into the split Earth, trying to burst him down, does manage to get on the snowball. Luna takes the damage from the Universe, looks like a touch, should still be falling, gets out some damage from the Walrus Punch and the Ice Shards, but in the end, that 5-man smoke does manage to find a pickoff on just a support EHOME. I was about to say, tier 2 or Roshan, they only get a support, so it seems like Roshan is the much better option.
Going for a tier 2 against a lineup like EG when you have to base push against a Storm Spirit with full mana is just so dangerous. Like, you don't know what's going to come. If DDC gets popped in the middle of the fight, or even Lanham, and all of a sudden you've got a 4v4, Gyrocopter plays with your team, it's a little bit too dangerous. Plus, YJ is playing Luna, one of the weaker carries at just surviving. So going for the Roshan every single time when you're dire side especially is just the same.
This raises it completely erases the chance that EHOME go into a commitment and they're the ones initiated on, and the Luna dies right before she goes. Instead, if that happens, second time has BKB ready to go.
You know what's interesting about this game from the previous one? EG actually had Storm pretty much free farm. And I was really worried that would happen to EHOME, but it seems like EHOME's strategy was more to shut out Universe as much as possible, and then just play defensively, and force Sumail to come to them, and they've done a really good job of that. Excluding Sumail's 2 solo kills onto DDC.
Yeah.
They've actually only had 2 kills independent of that.
Those are very minor pickoffs, especially since he went for the Orchid first rather than Bloodstone.
Yeah.
You don't actually have much of a Fear, he doesn't actually get off the BKB in time and almost get chain stunned down to death. Now he's actually being run down by the dog log eating. Just need one more right click. No, still not enough. Another one was required. Fear barely gets away. He was committing for the MKB too, so that would have been a prime opportunity for EHOME to get a pick off there. But while he is dead, they're going to go ahead and try and take this tier 2 tower.
Yeah, it was really well played by EHOME for that attempt, but Fear, Sumail did the right thing there. He just kind of took the heat off of Fear's back and slowed them down just enough so that they couldn't catch up, but that's still a 10-second BKB that you can EHOME doing a good job right now of taking control of the map. PPD doing his best to just force the Luna around the map so that they can't go for the deathfall.
So, Fear forced back to the fountain, but EHOME unable to get more than a couple right clicks on that tier 2. Now forced to defend their bottom lane. YJ's got another 1,700 gold. Butterfly can't really be his option because we do see an early MKB being built by Fear, so at which point, what's your item? Do you go for like a stat-based build on Scotty, or?
Manta's not bad. Maybe you even still get the butter, but Manta's a really good option. And as I said, that he's about to get the Yasha. I think it just increases the farm potential of Luna just going with EHOME.
And there's an Orchid on the Storm Spirit. I mean, even if he does have BKB, he doesn't want to have to commit a BKB every single time.
When this game kind of passive out after they took Roshan, EHOME just continue to stack their Ancients. So they just continue to get further ahead on the Luna, but Gyrocopter still second in net worth, but
Radiant's
when it comes to actual net worth,
under
it's
attack.
incredibly close. If it hadn't been for that Roshan, EHOME would actually be behind, which is a little bit surprising, but that's just on the heels of Sumail doing such a good job of keeping up in farm and not dying whatsoever.
PPD, EG have kind of read this. I mean, top lane's empty, bottom and middle are both pushing out. EHOME are nowhere to be seen on the map, so it's got to be a 5-man smoke somewhere. The Universe may still be caught. No. He pops the Vendetta in time before CTY can go for a Gyrocopter play. What do you think about Gyrocopter here?
Oh, on CTY? Oh, it's fine. You need some sort of setup on EHOME. If you look at their lineup, before the Darkseer gets a Blink Dagger, you need something to open up. That's why CTY is actually being sent first.
Radiant's
not just
middle
because
tower is under attack.
Universe does a good job of
Dire's
avoiding
top
it.
tower is under
down.
attack. Radiant structures are fortified.
It's good versus Orchid. It sets him up for the Storm Spirit kill, especially since he can't go for that Bloodstone.
Radiant's middle
that means
tower
the Storm
has
Spirit is
fallen.
actually very susceptible to Yule Split Earth.
EG right now,
Dire's top
they're having a
tower
tough
is under
time
attack.
looking for an angle right now because EHOME is just doing a good job of keeping together. And EG are doing what they can. Sumail just continues to farm, which is the correct decision, definitely. Right now.
There's going to be a big team fight buff here for EHOME very soon. RTK is about to complete his Blink Dagger, I believe. So this will now set up the Winter Wyvern. Some other plays and possibilities as well, but it's really the Winter's Curse Vacuum combination that's so deadly.
As long as they watch out for that,
is under attack.
or EG should still be okay. They've got a ton of clear. The Storm Spirit just continues to get so farmed.
They've got heroes that are very good at spreading everyone. Like,
Dire's
obviously,
middle
Storm Spirit's
tower
one of
has
them,
been
but
denied.
then they've got a Blink Dagger hero, a Nyx Assassin, Tusk. He usually sits back and snowballs in anyway. I can see how, like, this Winter's Curse vacuum combo may only catch, like, I feel at the most 2 heroes, like the Gyrocopter plus Skywrath Mage. Probably your most obvious go.
Yeah, Storm again takes the net worth lead. Really surprising considering the landscape of this game. The first tier 2 tower was taken by EHOME, but Sumail, he's not forcing anything or overextending. He's not looking to make fights happen. He's just letting things naturally happen. You realize that the type of lineup that EHOME has, the one downside to this is they are sort of forced to 5-man. When this happens, is that they'll naturally get ahead despite the tower advantage.
Aegis is now down. Evil Geniuses, like, they complete the MKB and the Gyrocopter. Did they go in at that point? Like, he just needs another 1,000 gold. I mean, because Luna is the more powerful late game.
I don't think so.
Right? He's still better?
The option for Gyro exists where you can get a, what's that item called? A Divine.
To the impurity.
And it's so
right.
strong.
Okay.
And there's nothing on EHOME that'll once he has a BKB.
What about the supporting curse then? Both sides. You've got Vacuum's curse on one side, but then you've got the Storm Spirit.
Oh, PPD's gonna get caught out here.
Yeah,
Dyer's
they do
turret
have
has
maybe a
been
snowball to save him. No, he turns around,
Dyer's
but
middle tower
he's
is
being
under
placed on
attack.
ROTK. So
They sniped the
CTY.
courier too, though.
It's true. So a 5th kill finally on the board for EHOME.
Universe, I think, sniped that, yeah. He found it in the jungle. Universe has had a tough game. He hasn't died, but he just hasn't had opportunities to make use of his ultimate.
It's kind of like running around as a clockwork and just like, there's no kills on the board, right? Like, you're running around as a clockwork, what else do? You're not particularly a strong farming hero. At least Nyx Assassin has certain things like Aghanims he can go for late game.
Oh, yeah.
But he's much more kill focused than anything else. It's just no opportunities.
Alright, so EHOME probably waits out the next Aegis. It's going to come up within the next 4 minutes.
He's still going to go Butterfly on Luna. He's got the Eagles on now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just,
Yeah,
it's still good on the Storm. Against the Storm.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
not great against the Gyrocopter, but it's still good against the Storm Spirit. It increases your damage up with like quite a lot. And this top, CTY wanted to go for the Yules on Fear just to force the BKB if anything. Well, they see Vision of Sumail right now. CTY is going to try to Yules him from Vision, but Sumail's going to spot this coming with his Remnant.
Yeah, they actually hit PPD. PPD with Yules. Split Earth will land this time. PPD is going to be first down. At the same time, Sumail interest back in, but they still don't have DDC. It puts the Winter's Curse on his Sumail. Whereas EHOME turning now to deal with him, but he managed to get the jump into the river. He's good. Meanwhile, Fear, he's popped his BKB and is trying to fight up against 3 different heroes, but he will run out eventually, and it seems he's just running out of time. He's going to try and finish off ROTK, but not even that is possible. EHOME do take the fight, getting 3 in exchange for just their Rubik.
Yeah, I don't think EG anticipated the amount of damage that EHOME was able to put out, and the supports from EHOME right now are just so much stronger. Like, AUI can't really do anything when everybody BKBs. He's only playing a Skyrath. He's not playing a hero that we typically see him play, where you can go for the solo pickoffs or punish EHOME for playing so passive, right? Like, often we see him play heroes like Naga or Lina that can just go around the map and do what he wants, but EHOME have just played this really frustrating game where they just don't allow any openings for EG, and they're doing such a good job of it. They're not really giving EG any chances to come back to the game. With all the multiple BKBs up, Universe's impact has been severely limited.
Yeah, I mean, as you point out, there's 3 different heroes, like the Skyrath Mage, Tusk, and Nyx Assassin, all who farming on is just not very valuable. You know, sitting back, if as you were saying, if AUI had one of his kind of his signature 3-4 position, they would be in a much better position with this passive play, but as it is, it's really only Sumail and Fear's Gyrocopter that are getting any sort of progression in items that is worthy to talk about. Like, yes, there is a Force Staff on Nyx Assassin. That's nice utility, but it doesn't change the landscape of the game too much.
Sumail's going to go for the TP out. I actually think RTK could have sniped him there. If he had, I don't think he was watching because his hero wasn't clicked, but if he had gone for the vacuum, that was just unlucky by Sumail. Because he rolled right next to the Darkseer with like a second left on his TP. RTK help, but at top, Fear's going to get opened up on, and it's just a move to force him to BKB.
At the same time, CTY doesn't want to try and force it too much. He doesn't want to have to use his own BKB if someone else is behind Fear, so just clears through the creep wave, puts a little pressure on Fear, and backs up nice and quick. YJ is about to complete his Butterfly.
Radiant's
and
bottom tower is under
Good timing
attack.
for EHOME.
Yeah, they're playing a completely objective base. They're playing around the Roshan timing. They're not letting EG open up on them when
EG has to stop this. I mean,
they're the best team in the world at fighting Roshan when they're behind.
Here comes 4-man smoke up. How do they lead things off here? Universe does have the Blink Dagger to start things with a jump in. EG, they're actually spreading themselves out. They don't realize that Roshan was actually happening, it seems like. Universe jumps work, but there's a blink over to the side from RTK. TBD into Strails going for it right now. Activated on him. It's actually going to be the target. Here, Monster comes for the Winter's Curse off the wall. It's going to be the target. Ultimate now jumps in, going for RTK. Has to jump himself out, though. It's realized that the team might have totally lost. EHOME will now clean up the rest of the Heroes. Lana will be taken out by Sumail. Now jumps over to get DDC as well. Still has some mana left, but hit by the split earth and the last couple of right clicks. Maybe not worth it to get those 2 supports, but EHOME now try and challenge for Roshan. Sumail buys back, and he's got a lot of mana. He makes the long range jump up for CTY. Almost lands on top of him, but he does still get CTY. Now man fights against YJ.
He's got the gem too.
Is under attack.
He's running himself out. He's low on mana, but just enough to be able to get over this cliff. So he gets the Leshrac, takes the gem, but at the same time, EHOME will still claim Roshan.
Does he still go for this? No way.
Roshan has fallen.
But he's not fast enough. Aegis is now grabbed by CTY.
That was such an incredibly close fight. If things had broken a little bit for EG, that Winter's Curse, though, destroyed them. They weren't able to out any damage. Oh, this was greedy.
At the very least, you can be happy that he wasn't the one who grabbed the Aegis, because maybe he would have died a second time there, but that's rough. That's such a simple pickoff that actually just evens up the team fight we just had around Roshan.
Because the Leshrac died in that fight too. He was able to naturally respawn, but it's still an advantage at EHOME because they had to force out Sumail's buyback. Yes, he made the money back, so it's okay. It just depends on whether or not EHOME have enough time to punish this.
Yeah.
Like, they have the Aegis on the Leshrac. I think that with this, once you wait for the Luna to come back online, you start going for it, but just really well played by EHOME. Being able to isolate out so many different heroes. The BKBs are just ruining EG right now because they don't have any physical damage aside from the Gyrocopter.
So Sumail goes for the Lincolns instead of a BKB, I'm presuming just because Winter's Curse is so strong against him. There is still the possibility that he gets caught. The vacuum, Winter's Curse doesn't need to be placed on the Storm Spirit necessarily, it just needs to be caught in the AoE.
What he's playing for right now is the potential of Storm, more than he's trying to just say, okay, if I go for a BKB here, it doesn't give me any more damage, it doesn't give me any more mana regen, but if I go for the Lincolns, it's a pseudo defensive item, but it allows me to continue to snowball forward. Like, a Lincolns is an item that you would want in your absolute 6-slot as a Storm, so he's just playing for the late game potential of the Storm Spirit rather than going for the mid game. I'm completely okay with doing this here. That's a game-losing BKB, as EE would say.
4-man smoke up, EHOME. They've got this Aegis, as you were kind of saying earlier. That last Roshan fight, it all kind of comes down to whether or not they're able to utilize this Aegis. Looks like they're going to set up on the tier 2 tower. Evil Geniuses, I think, reading that the Leshrac's got to have something going up to the top part of the map, whether that's farming up the jungle, maybe putting pressure on the tier 2 there. Whatever they're doing, it's just staying away from the bottom lane.
There's no way they
Radiant's
can fight.
bottom
With no
tower
vision,
is
you don't
under
really,
attack.
you know for sure that EHOME are but you're not
Radiant's
exactly
bottom
sure where
tower
they
has
are. And
fallen.
this might actually be really good for
Dire's
EG because
middle
EHOME is
tower
going to read
is
that they're all
under
on top. So even if EG TP for this, it's going to allow EHOME to set up for however they want the fight to go, and EG just aren't going to
Dire's top tower
So
is under
this is just going to be a free tower for EHOME. Not enough time
Radiant
for EG to
structures are
respond.
fortified.
Blip is there, tier 2
Radiant's
gets taken
bottom
at the
tower
middle
is
lane.
under attack.
Top tier 2 being
Dire's
threatened
top
as well.
tower is under
But
attack.
here comes
Radiant's
EG.
bottom
Universe
tower
actually misses that
is
one. Now pops the right there, but CTY already pops BKB. Taking it right next to the making his entrance. There goes that Winter's Curse, holding him in as best as possible. A couple little lightning strikes. PD is forced into a defensive snowball now. He's going to be heading back in, but EHOME, as they lose their BKBs, start manning down a little bit. Now the extra initiation once again. Universe kind of missing up on that one. Sumail still able to get drawn up. CTY, though, telling you needs to turn this fight. RTK gets a decent vacuum, but still no follow-up from the rest of EHOME. YJ is just a little bit low, but they're trying to commit for the rounds now. Skywrath Mage dropping lower as the bouncing blade starts getting to him, and he will end up dying to the splitter at the very tail end of that fight. The rest of EG just too low on mana and HP to punish EHOME, especially since they're still fighting into that Aegis. EHOME actually managed to claim full lane of Rags, win a team fight still, and still have that Aegis ready to go if they want to go for another push.
Yeah, and the Luna's finished, fully completed Satanic right now. I think EG, it's really difficult when EHOME gets set up like that and they've got the BKBs and they can use them defensively like that. Like, they just picked up their third BKB on the guard. They need stuff like this to happen as Sumail initiates on DDC. Who is Viz? Do they have a gem for this? They've got a sentry at the very least, so DDC should go down. And Sumail, 12 Bloodstone charges now, and that's a decent amount, but he's going to need a little bit more than that.
His next item, is it like Scythe of Ice to be able to lock down the Luna, to go Shivas to try and slow down these heroes and just make yourself tankier?
I think Scythe of Ice is... I think a Shiva's might be better, but I wouldn't fault him for going for the Scythe of Ice. He might just feel like the Ice won't make a big enough difference, whereas the Shivas, you can get some AoE damage out, guarantee that when you do your initial roll-in, you can pretty much just burst. now, it's not even his items that really matter too much. It's that he needs Fear to just get really stacked. Because EHOME are just kind of running in, doing whatever they want, and EG just can't put out enough damage. Sumail rolls in. Once he uses initial mana pull, EHOME feel pretty comfortable with staying in that fight. That's why YJ was able to just stay with EHOME. They know that Sumail doesn't have a Hex, he doesn't have a Shivas, and so he can't really chase past that point. If he just gets unlucky with a few butterfly procs, then the Storm is overcommitted and dies.
EHOME, if they really want to take advantage of this, they can try and push before the butterfly is complete on the Gyrocopter, but I'm not even sure, like, damage-wise, obviously a big increase, but I'm not even sure the evasion's going to be all that valuable for the Gyrocopter. You still got the bouncing glaives, you've got Leshrac, all that magic damage coming out.
It would be good if he didn't, if his BKB wasn't almost down to 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But with the BKB being down to 5 seconds, CT-wise effectiveness is just going to skyrocket. Fear is the only person with the BKB on his team, so he's the only person that can really step forward, but it means that he's going to have to blow his BKB earlier than he would like. Because there's not a whole lot of defensive heroes from EG. It's not like they have an Earthshaker that will really scare the bejesus out of EHOME. They've got Snowball, but even then, that's not the best.
We saw the Octarine core completed for the Leshrac. That means we're now down to that pesky 3-second Lightning Storm, and obviously a lot more HP. Mana, and just general survivability, obviously, because he's outputting so much damage that he's spell stealing quite a bit.
Radiant's top tower
He's just a
has
monster.
fallen.
Tier 2 falls without fuss.
Can't even really defend that. If you're EHOME and you want to secure this game, you go for the Roshan, but the scary thing is I think EG would prefer them to do that and just take another fight, right? You just go for another Roshan fight and hope that goes a little bit better. You can surprise them for sure there, but allowing EHOME to just set up and take Roshan for free is probably a death sentence.
Do you still complete the Manta this late on the Luna?
You might. They actually have better vision.
Universe,
Always gonna be found.
Yeah, they have counter vision, my friend, and now that's the gem drops. They've lost all control. Like, everything outside of Evil Genius's base is EHOME territory now.
I think you just push mid if you're EHOME now. Like, it's only Universe, but still. Universe doesn't have buyback, and it is one of your initiating stuns that you've got. It's not like PVD has a Blink Dagger, and so EHOME's going to feel pretty confident now, especially since they just got the gem, too. The Glimmer Cape has just become so strong.
They keep the gem, the extra one, now in the Courier. Sending it back to base, so even if they do lose that fight, they'll have a gem ready to go. The ultimate auto spam essentially being dropped to try and slow down EHOME while Universe is down for 15 seconds.
Looks like EHOME is a little bit hesitant to send CTY forward, but I don't know why. They've got a BKB and an Octarine core on it, but it just looks like they want to secure the win. Lanam actually has... shouldn't do too much, but I guess it's just one other thing they have to do.
I mean, well, essentially, especially because they do not have... oh, no, they do. They have a gem on Universe.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So,
TPD has a gem.
Have a way to scout out the Rubik, I suppose. I was thinking Blunt would just sit very aggressively with his Vendetta constantly.
If he was able to do that, that would ruin the game. Oh, Manta is finished by YJ. You were correct. He did still go for it. You might as well, right? Why fill up extra item slot? We're probably going to get the Aegis.
Yeah, and you're still going to go Pizza Trap, Dreads, and then Scotty to replace the 6th slot, the team slot. Is that the item?
Yeah, I think so. More than anything, it's just, if he goes for another item, he can't get the Aegis. Who else is going to hold the Aegis on EHOME? Your Leshrac is 6 slotted. You probably give the cheese to the Darkseer, who's got a wand. Oh, Roche is up. You think EG should fight a Roche?
I think they have to, right? I mean, it's a very clear role that EHOME is on. You gotta try and throw a wrench in this, man.
They're TPing back already, but they gotta go for this right now. Yeah, Sumail decided to go with the Shivas. I think he had to. Like, it's not just the Luna or the Leshrac that matters. It's both of them, and they gotta move quickly. This is gonna be done pretty fast.
Too late. EHOME already halfway through Roshan.
Maybe they don't even move. They have to know that they're top. Maybe they just understand that they can't really fight in there.
I mean, they are going to be playing around buybacks quite heavily, I would assume. They still have okay, they have no Vimax.
Roshan has fallen to the dire.
No Vimax. I mean, Storm Spirit has 12 Bloodstone charges, so that's a decently low death timer, but not low enough for you to die and continue to force the fight.
You need 1 per level, I think.
Yeah.
How do I not know this for sure?
That's usually how I read it. Like,
Yeah.
if I have 15 Bloodstone charges by level 15, I'm like, yeah, that's about an instant respawn.
Yeah, so the Shiva's is almost completed on CTY, and he actually is the one that takes the cheese, which I guess is okay.
I feel like this is one of the biggest item upgrades, despite, you know, we're talking about all these like great late game items for Luna and everything else. I feel like this Blink Dagger from DDC is actually one of the biggest pickups they can get over the last like 5 to 10 minutes, because that now means they have Blink Darkseer and Blink Winter Wyvern. If they manage to get the
problem right now for EG is that there's just so much lockdown on EHOME right now from the Winter's Curse alone. It's gonna scare everybody on EG because you can't really group up, but EHOME's lineup forces you to walk into them, and EG, they've pretty much got one shot at this, especially with no farm. There's no farm progression coming on the side of EG because they can't leave their base. So this next fight is really going to determine a lot. If they can hold though, and you get a few more Bloodstone charges on Sumail, Storm is one of the best heroes turning around a game that's lost.
And you've already got the, sort of like the maxed out EHOME almost. They actually now have a fly attack. Another upgrade for particular our Luna. And here it comes, the death push out from EHOME. It's game number 2 between Evil Geniuses. EHOME are desperate for a win. They've lost too many games that have been close. Shiva's now complete for CTY as well. YJ is already
Radiant's
dropping a
middle
bit low. Of
tower
course, he's
is
got a
under
6 hitting and Aegis.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
It costs him half of his HP, and yeah, as he backs up, immediately gets both an Urn as well as a Cold Embrace to heal him back up to full.
He still has the Manta too, so going for the high ground right here is not that big of an issue for her. EHOME, they just are so afraid of losing this fight.
Forward again. Gonna try and grab him, and jumping in on DDC, but immediately the Ghost Scepter is there to be able to defend. Now Weaver still doesn't find the opening he's looking for, and now that they've sort of been stunted, EHOME surge right back into the enemy base. That man, they're actually first coming back in. Sumail jumping for a lot of the time, but again, Ghost Scepter's there. Sumail just has no confidence against that now. We do have a Luna dropping the Aegis. Fear actually gets controlled by Winter Curse. Really doesn't do much there. He doesn't have the DKE, but unfortunately, the Cold Embrace to keep him alive. Now Sumail actually hit by the Dual Scepter, plus the Split Earth combination. Controls him a little bit, but a good force tap to the side. Helps get him away. The ultimate out for YJ chases away the rest of the Evil Geniuses, and they manage to actually do a lot, forcing EHOME to drop the Aegis and a couple of their heroes. Oh, that bounce! Oh, wow. Universe stuff. Yeah, Sumail now going to jump in, going for a lot, and they have nothing. Oh, now to be able to slow down the rest of the EHOME. This could be easy, cleaning up. They get close to support, but now YJ and CTY are still looking very healthy, and he's got the Satanic on top of that. Fear falls, he doesn't have a buyback. Evil Geniuses, this is just, they have too much of a deficit facing EHOME.
Radiant's middle
YJ
tower
got
is
past
under
the cheese, I
attack.
think, in the middle of that fight at the same time. Yeah, it was used by him, and pops the Satanic
Radiant's
to get
top
the full.
tower
Storm
is
is still
under
alive.
attack.
Sumail looked for an opening there on one of the supports or something, but EHOME, this was the EHOME that we saw in one of our games, and we saw certain aspects of it in many of the other games that they lost. They just look so clean and crisp in their gameplay, and just not make any mistakes, and it just seems like they're an unstoppable team at some point. I'm not sure what really changed.